to another episode of Powerful Teaching with Dr. Blaze. Today we are talking to Cornelius George of Laugh Your Class Off. Cornelius is a highly decorated educator in the state of Georgia, Clayton County Public Schools, but I'm going to let him tell you all about that. Before he does, though, I just want to let you guys know that he is one of the amazing speakers who will be joining us for the Teach to EmPOWARR Conference on May 15th and 16th. So welcome, Cornelius.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you. So Cornelius, for all of the people out here who don't know you yet, tell them about your background in education.
All right. I have been teaching for 18 years.
Wow.
I am also a fourth generation educator. And beyond that, I'm a comedian, educator. I've been doing comedy for almost 10 years now. And I love to laugh. I use laughter in my classroom as part of my personality. It's been part of my life for as far as I can go back. I am also the 2019 and 2020 PBIS Film of the Year winner for our videos. We've done anti-bullying, teen suicide prevention, weapons in school. We've done a number of videos. So we do a lot of different things, all in the name of laughter.
Yes. So y'all, before this interview officially got started, Cornelius and I were kind of chit-chatting. Every time I talk to him, it just turns into a comedy situation, even when we're talking about something serious. So Cornelius, you didn't tell us what you teach, though.
I teach social studies.
Okay.
The most boring, hated subject in school.
Yeah.
You can go back 5 to 10 generations and they all say, I hate social studies. And I don't know why, because that's one of the most important things I feel in education. But I enjoy it. I'm creative when I teach my students and they love it. So I hope they have a love for it. Their parents always say the same thing. I wish I had a teacher like you. I wish I had a teacher like me when I was in school.
Listen, I hated social studies. And I was a student who loved school.
Oh.
But social studies was boring. I did not like history. But I just did what I needed to do to get the A. So I would just take the notes, memorize the stuff, pass the test, and go on. The first social studies class I liked was civics in 9th grade.
Okay.
And that's because the teacher had a personality. He wasn't a comedian like you, but he had like that dry, sarcastic humor.
Yeah.
And I loved it. Like a lot of students thought, oh, he got a smart mouth, I don't like him. But I loved it. And so I liked that social studies class. And then the next class, I guess it is social studies because it was history.
Yeah.
But it was jazz history in college. Like that's the only history class I ever enjoyed. Yeah.
I enjoyed history class and I never got A's in school. I got all C's. I was like, all C's. If I made an A in a class, I got to make a D the next semester so I can balance out.
Oh,
I don't want people to know I'm smart. I didn't want people to know I'm smart at all. Like, nope. Because people who were smart, they expected too much. Yeah. I didn't want that pressure. Let me just skate by. Same way I feel about going to heaven. Just let me skate in. I ain't got to be perfect. Let me just skate on in there. So I enjoy history because I could talk to my teacher and we could argue and I learned more verbally. So when we engage in a conversation, I retain more. And what my teachers didn't know was I would go home and read the book. I'll read the book and I go, this is really accurate, you know what I'm saying? Because it's not what my grandparents told me from oral history. So it's always a different perspective. And that's what I want my students to understand, that it's more about perspective than anything else. I hated math because beyond adding and subtracting, I wasn't doing it. I can't do square footage right now.
Listen, let's go back to this making a C and the high expectations thing. Now, you said you're a 4th generation educator. Yes. So how did this C standard thing kind of shake out with your educator parents, grandparents?
It worked out kind of crazy. My mom was mad the entire time I was in school.
I bet.
She was mad because I think I marched in my own drum. Because I tell everybody, I went to 6 undergrad colleges before I graduated.
Okay.
I was trying to party and have a good time. That was my main focus focused in life, having a good time. And I just traveled to different colleges. I mean, it's hard now to go back to homecoming because I don't know which one to go to because they all have around the same time. But yeah, so I tell everybody that story, not because of, oh, well, he's struggling in school. No, it's about perseverance. And that's what people want to get out of it, that we are not all the same. When I first started teaching, I was working with a guy and he went to Brown University. So he's an Ivy Leaguer and he had an attitude like, yeah, I went to Brown and we're better than you. And I'm like, I went to 6 undergrad colleges and we in the same job.
Right. And probably getting paid the same thing. Well, I know that teacher pay scale, so.
We get the same check. And secondly, my debt ain't as high as yours.
Right.
So I don't know who was the smarter person. I don't know if I went to Brown to become a teacher. I don't know if I'd have done that. I'd have went to my public state schools here where I could have got a Hope grant or a Pell grant or something. So it worked out.
That's right. Shout out to the Hope and Pell because that's how I made it.
Shout out to them.
Now,
but it's about learning. Yes.
You brought something up too that I want to, you said with your history teachers, you like that you could talk to them.
Yeah.
And that's how you learn through conversation. So I just happened to be, I saved something off of LinkedIn, maybe this morning, maybe last night, I don't know. But I was intended to use it for something else. But when you said that, it just made me think about it. It's the cone of learning, this upside down cone. For everybody watching this episode, I will put a link to it in the video description so y'all can check it out too and see what I'm talking about. But at the top of the cone, they say you learn 90% of what we say and do. Okay, only 10% of what we read is at the bottom of the cone. And at the top of the cone, 90% of what we say and do. We learn 90% of what we say and do because it's active. And in that 90%, doing the real thing, simulating the real thing, doing a dramatic presentation, giving a talk. Actually, as I'm looking at it, giving a talk is in the 70%.
Okay.
So you're gonna learn 70% of the things that you talk about. That's a high percentage.
That's a high percentage, and I think they stole that idea from my grandparents or our parents, you know what I'm saying, generation, because they believe in you doing it and they talk to us a lot, you know what I'm saying? And talking gets you to express your ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Also get to express your imagination and creativity. So I couldn't imagine learning how to change a tire by reading a book.
Right.
Most guys that I know, if their wife or girlfriend, significant other, tell them to put something together, they hate looking at the direction.
Oh my goodness, yes.
They're like, oh my God, there's always something left over. It's always like a piece left over. And I'm just gonna try to guess it by eye.
Yeah.
And we have a hard time with that. So I think we learn more by trying. And we learn more because I tell my students, you learn more by failing than you do by succeeding. Because in your failures is where you learn, okay, I don't need to do it that way again. And it's a try. I don't look at, oh my God, you failed. Nope, I just got to find another way to try to get it done.
Yep.
And so that's what it's more about.
Yeah. So that's that 70% participating in a discussion, giving a talk, and then the 90% is the doing, like you just said. And see, y'all, and that's coming from somebody who set their bar at a C standard. Now, that's not shade. Now, he said that.
Hey, I set my bar at a C.
Y'all see?
The person who got the A and I got the C, we learned the same thing.
Because y'all learned the same thing.
And I learned that in high school, and I learned in high school and college, even in grad school, that I could look at the syllabus and I could tell you already what grade I was going to get out of it.
Yeah.
Because I knew what I was going to put into it. I'm not going to do this assignment at all. Because I knew by the weights and everything else what I was going to get out of it. And a lot of times by those tests and things, it doesn't demonstrate what I knew.
Yeah.
People can get an A and don't know anything from the class. Person get a C, actually learn how to apply that information. And that's what we want our kids to do. How do I apply the things that you're telling me? Get the A all day if it's going to make you better. But if you got a C and you can apply what I taught you, I'd rather you do that.
Oh, you preaching. And there are studies that confirm that the C student in college is the more well-rounded individual when they get into the workplace, because they probably didn't spend every minute reading the book, memorizing the facts, but they were involved in things on campus You know, so they pulled a C in class, but they were also getting that other experience that's going to be valuable. So you
People
really
skill.
preaching. You are really preaching. So now, tell us, how has this pandemic directly impacted your teaching, aside from going virtual, because we know that's the obvious, but in what other ways has it impacted your teaching?
It has impacted my teaching, realizing that all I really need to do is teach to my students ceiling fan.
Mm.
Because that's all I do. This is all I see all day. That's all I see. That's all I see. That's all I see just in class the whole time. And I'm teaching to this. You know, that's all we teach to, because you never see them. And
Teach to the ceiling fan.
I mean, what else it taught me was that my boss didn't know everything.
Mm.
Because for years, I've heard several principals say, you can't teach sitting down. You can't be an effective teacher sitting down. Well, this pandemic proved that that was a lie.
A
Because
lie.
all I've done for a whole year is sit down and teach.
Yes.
So that's one of the things I've learned. I've learned not to take myself so seriously and find other ways to engage the kids. Like things like we had different people say kids can't wear the bonnets and things on there because they gotta look professional. And it taught me in my class not to worry about that. Because once I told my students I don't care about that, they participated more.
Mm-hmm.
So on review days, my review days were male versus female, and it was called bonnets versus do-rags.
I love it.
And they would go put their bonnet on and them do-rag, and they would participate in class. And I'm like, it's more about that. I don't care about the other stuff. And once they realized I didn't care about all the superficial stuff and just about learning, oh man, they would engage in class.
You know, like you are hitting on so many points right now, because at the beginning of the pandemic, I would get annoyed when I would get on calls with groups that I'm consulting with and things like that. And people bring in their children and their dog and everything else. And I'm like, this is not professional. But someone pointed out to me, well, we're not in what we grew to know as normal times, professional times. People are at home with their children, and you can't expect children to just understand what professionalism is and is not. You can't expect a pet to understand that. So I think those standards of what is considered acceptable professional behavior has changed. And the fact that, you know, you immediately incorporated that into your classroom so your students could be engaged, I just think it reinforces another argument that I've been making about virtual learning. Even though I'm not in the classroom right now, I would just hate to see us go all the way back to what we were doing before, because I do believe having the students learn from home is teaching them some skills that they weren't getting in the traditional classroom.
It taught me the need for both. It taught me how some students need that social interaction, that the in-person, that feeding off each other energy. I saw that. I see that. As an educator, it taught me how to be more sensitive to students are on computers all day, my own kids on there all day, and how you pile and work on. It's like we said at the beginning. Some people think just because you're home, you got free time.
Yeah.
So you got a kid on class, they in class from 8 to 3 or 4 o'clock, and you thinking they got free time. So you gonna give them double the homework because they're at home. Right. No, be sensitive, like, okay, this is what people are dealing with. And every time I heard an expert say something at the beginning of the pandemic, I'm like, you don't really know, because this is new for everybody.
Right.
You know, we're in that trial and error phase. Like when they say, oh, you gotta be this way, have them sit at the kitchen table. No, this is trial and error. So I don't take it that seriously. This is something we're still learning and adjusting to. So I think it's something that should stay somewhat. I think school systems are gonna have to go, okay, there's some kids that would do 10 times better from virtual, right, than they will in person. Some students need to be in virtual. I tell you one thing, I hadn't heard any school that is virtual complain about their behavior data.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
What? If you got behavioral problems, you don't listen. When the last time a teacher had to kick a kid out of class and they virtual? You know, a student that's assigned to them, they're like very few of them.
Well, I saw you post a meme about that.
yeah, like, okay.
Like, how you gonna kick them out? They already at home.
They already at home. How you gonna
Yes.
kick them out? You
Yes.
ain't gotta do any of that. And so that's the point, man. I think we're learning to adjust to everything. And virtual teaching is a challenge. I worked harder trying to make sure I find things my kids would want to do and follow up with them and give them more time. And we have more discussion because I want to know how you think about topics that are related to history, not related to history, because the world is changing. So how do you think, how do I help you be a critical thinker? I can give you just the history stuff, but how do I impact you to change history from what we're dealing with now? Because things we dealt with as a kid, if we'd had a pandemic when we were growing up, Doc,
Yeah.
it'd have tore our parents up. We had to be in the house the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, because we were outside kids.
We were outside.
We were
You
outside.
can't go outside.
Yeah.
What? That'll kill us. You got to stay in. And they wouldn't have had virtual teaching because you just been at home.
Right.
What? That wouldn't have worked. That wouldn't have worked at all.
So we would have just been out of school, huh?
Yeah, we've been out of school for an entire year. Out of school. Nope.
That is something to think about. Now, you told us at the top of the show that you are an award-winning PBIS filmmaker. For those who aren't familiar with PBIS, tell us what it is. And then how did you get so involved with it?
PBIS is Positive Behavior Intervention Support. It's something I think Clayton County District is trying to go district-wide. It's been around for a number of years. It's just a way to have more positive behavior in schools and interventions to make students be more positive and engage in school. So you minimize the distraction and the problems, and you create supports and interventions. Okay. And it's about positive. So how I got involved in it years ago when my principal said we were going to have to do PBIS, she put me on the team. And I'm like, okay. And I'm a creative person, so I like how we have to do something. So we created about 5-6 years ago, we created our first video at the school about our PBIS theme song. So I went around and asked 3 of my colleagues, the resource officer, the math teacher, and the language arts teacher, they could rap and sing. I like, let's do something to get the kids engaged. And at first, all of them were like, nah, I don't want to do that. They ain't gonna like it. I like, trust me. And they trusted me and they made something spectacular.
Wow.
And then the next year, I said, let's do something different. And they were on board. And that's when we made the Bullies Know for anti-bullying. So we looked at our data and we listened to the kids about bullying. And like, okay, let's make something that they can listen to, music, because they love music, that they can actually listen to the word positive and it's gonna have an impact on them. It might not be what they listen to in the street all the time, but it's gonna be something different. And we did that and they loved it. And we sent it in to the PBIS awards people and they loved it. And I'm going, wow, I can't believe they like something I just did off a whim. And I think what makes us so different is that we're not afraid to say yes. Okay. You know, we're not afraid to say yes. So me by engaging with people saying, what is your talent? And let's try it. You know, I'm worth trying. If we try it, we work out, it work out. If it don't work out, we're gonna laugh about it and everything else. So the Bullies video, I find it funny because our superintendent is rapping in it. And he is not a rapper at all. And he didn't want to do it at first. But I went to him and said, hey, how can we really ask our staff to do something that we ain't willing to try? And he tried it and he did great. And that let me know then that we had something special. Wow. You know, just being creative and, you know, think about it, when we were kids, we were outside kids. We didn't have video games a lot. We had our imagination. We made up games. So here I am as a teacher doing the same thing, making up games. I have not changed since I was a kid. Same person.
Cornelius, you know that's what my breakout session is on at the Teach to EmPOWARR Conference, is on play-based learning.
Think about it.
Using them Red Rover and Simon Says and kickball skills in the classroom.
I learned how to add and multiply by playing dominoes. Ah, yeah. I learned by playing dominoes. We learned all those things there, spades, card game. We learned all those things there that our parents taught us. That's why our motto, Laugh Your Class Off. everyone has been a teacher or a student at some point in time in their life.
Yeah.
On my father's side, my grandfather was a minister, but he taught me how to change a tire, how to work a garden. I went in the classroom. I was actually out there doing those things. I learned how to multiply from my grandmother, who had a 3rd grade education on my father's side, by playing dominoes with her.
Mm.
She beat me every time, but I learned how to play. And so I learned how to use those same skills. It's just very transferable. I mean, think about when we were growing up, the movie Karate Kid with the first Karate Kid. He taught him how to wax a car, but he just transferred those skills. That's what you said your session about. It's the same thing. They all transferable, but we forget about that. We want to take playtime out of school. We want everybody to sit here and do. That's why I don't like think tanks. I'm like, what do you do if you sit in the building all day? Where are the people at? Go where they are.
Yeah.
Go where they are.
Wow, that's really interesting. So at the Teach to Empower virtual conference, you are going to be presenting a session on using improv in the classroom. So what can people expect from this session?
First off, they can expect to laugh.
Yes.
Because we are trying to do something creative differently to show that it truly does work. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna just find a different way to present it, but we're gonna show different improv games that they can use in their classrooms and just how to use their own personality with their students. Because I might be the expert, but in improv, everybody's expert and we all work together. And learning is in those small moments. And you get to actually see the critical thinking skills when you're doing improv. So it is, I don't care what subject you teach, you're going to find a way to do, we got a game for you to play, and it's going to be entertaining and laughing, and you're going to be surprised how much you actually learn in this session.
Yeah, so for those of you watching, I met Cornelius, okay, I can't remember exactly how it happened. Did we follow each other first on social media, or did I meet you at the conference?
We met at the conference, at the self-care conference. We met there.
Okay, so we both were presenting sessions at the Teacher Self-Care Conference. Maybe it was, what, 2018 or 17? It's been a few years ago. And I went to his session and I was just completely blown away. I laughed the whole time and but the nerd in me was still trying to take notes while we were doing improv. That's just the type A nerdy nature. So I just couldn't help myself. But I was really blown away. I was really impressed. Number one, like, he's a teacher, but he's also a comedian, but he really understands pedagogy at a deep level. Y'all, I was just amazed by this guy. And I was like, okay, he got to be my friend. Because this is not the kind of person.
A pedagogy from a C student. Ain't that something?
I was like, this guy got to be my friend. This is not a person who you just meet on a drive-by and you just walk away from. So we have kept in touch since then, and I cannot wait for y'all to see his session. You're going to be just as amazed as I was, and you're going to walk away with a lot of strategies that you can implement with your students. As I stated, I'm not in the classroom anymore, but I have used some of his strategies even when I am facilitating professional development for other educators. And Cornelius, I always give you a shout out. I always put your name in my presentation and let people know this ain't mine. This came from my friend Cornelius George, because people just need to know and see who you are. And so y'all, you're getting this at the Teach to Empower Conference. You're getting people who I have met over the past few years, or even I've worked with when I was a teacher. So y'all, these are my personal favorite educators. These are my educator friends. These are the colleagues that I look up to, and they have all been gracious enough to come on board and help me put together an amazing experience for you. That is what makes this conference so special. So Cornelius, what else would you like to share with the Teach to Empower audience before we get out of here?
Always keep trying to better yourself and for the betterment of your students, because the students that most of us as educators never have a lot of students come back to say thank you.
Yeah.
But we always have conversation with people, and that it always comes up. Hey, who's your favorite teacher? Remember this right here? Or I had this teacher that imparted this in my life. I always try to be that. I always try to be that, always, and never stop trying. Tell yourself yes, because the next best practice idea might come from a teacher that's taking from the PBIS Teaching Conference.
Wow.
They might have the best idea that they just won't tell themselves yes to. So you have our permission to tell yourself yes.
Thank you so much for that, Cornelius. I'm looking forward to your session. As I stated, everybody else, go ahead and register for the Teach to Empower Conference. It is happening on May 15th and 16th, right from the comfort of your home. Go to powerfulteaching.com to register. And please, if you haven't already, like this video, subscribe to the Powerful Teaching channel, and follow Powerful Teaching across all social media outlets. And I will see y'all in the next Powerful Teaching with Dr. Blaze video. Thank you.
Shout out to the C teachers. Shout out to
And
C
the
students. C students, shout out. We taking over. C students, baby.